today I'm going to be talking about how I make space and time for a spiritual practice when my life is very busy and there's lots of things going on. So I've got some top tips for you. So first of all, I think like everyone, there are so many things going on in the world and you're juggling 20 million thousand things at any one time, and it's really difficult to not lose your head and to not get caught up in all the doingness of daily life. And it's definitely something that I have personally struggled with. And what makes it worse is that you end up in a bit of a vicious cycle. You get busy, so you don't have time to do your morning meditation or to pull an angel card or whatever it is that you would do to kind of center and ground yourself into your spiritual essence and being. And so you get more stressed, and then you get busier still, and you don't have enough time, and round and round we go. And it's just a bit of a vicious cycle that you can't get yourself out of. So here's my top tips for trying to get refocused, get recentered, and put yourself back on a positive page. Number one of the best things that I could ever recommend you doing is getting up early. I can almost hear the collective groan from across the wavelengths. And I completely appreciate why the thought of getting up early is terrifying and not ideal, but I'm not talking about getting up at 4 a.m. You can do if you want to, but I'm just saying get up a bit earlier than you need to. Giving yourself an extra 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour if you can, will actually change your life. I'm not joking. There's a whole book about this called Miracle Mornings, which you can look into. I can put the details down below. But I haven't even read that book. I just heard about something on a podcast. I think I heard the person who wrote that book on a podcast. And it just got me thinking about waking up early. And whenever I do it, I always feel so much better. It's like you've given yourself the gift of time. I can't describe it to you. So wake up just 10 minutes earlier, 5 minutes earlier, just to get you started. And you'll find that your life will literally change. You will give yourself extra time to do things, to make a cup of tea and actually sit and enjoy it, to read 1 page or 2 pages of a book that you've had laying on the side for ages, to watch a YouTube video or start to listen to a podcast, or even just light a candle. Sometimes I just sit outside with a cup of tea. Even in these winter times when it's dark, I just force myself to get my coat on, have a whistling kettle, which I'm absolutely obsessed with because there's something really sacred about making a cup of tea from a whistling kettle. And then I bundle up and I sit outside in the freezing cold and I just listen to the day and get connected to the day before it starts. And I'm telling you, it is so good. It's always worth it, even if I have to drag myself out of bed. So get up early. That's my first tip. Okay, so my second tip for getting yourself back on a positive page when everything's a bit chaotic, I would say that making space to just do one small thing every day to recenter yourself is worth it. And this can be a quick thing. You can subscribe to an email service which sends you like an inspirational message every day, and this is something that I do, so that even on the busiest days I know that at 10 a.m. I will get an email from this group, from this person, which I'll tell you about, and it just helps me put things in perspective. It helps me refocus my brain, and it helps me to get into a positive headspace and remember that whatever it is that I'm facing, it's not that big of a deal, right? And the email service that I use and the person that I am absolutely obsessed with is Neale Donald Walsch. I'll put the things in the space below, but Neale Donald Walsch does something called I Believe God Wants You to Know. So he starts his email with, like, hi Katie, I believe God wants you to know. And then he gives a really short piece of inspirational text. I'm telling you, it's like a sentence long. But I actually look forward to 10 a.m. every single day getting these emails. He doesn't send them on a weekend, only in the weekdays, but It is so beautiful, it's so amazing, and if you haven't read his books, I would highly recommend that you read his books, Conversations with God. But these email messages, they take less than 15 seconds to read, and they just put me in a positive mind space, and almost always I can connect to whatever is going on in my life. I can connect them to that email, and it just makes everything better for me. So subscribing to something like that. There's lots of other things that have a similar approach. There's like Daily which I know my mom subscribes to that, and that's also really great and has like an inspirational message every day. So there's loads of other things that you can do, but even just subscribing to something like that, it grounds you and it helps you to just pause and stop for just 2 seconds, and it's worth it. So that's tip number 2. Okay, tip number 3. So I kind of alluded to this in my tip number 1, but my tip number 3 is getting outside. Even if it's raining, even if it's freezing, even if it's snowing, and if it's glorious sunshine, even better. But just get outside. Bundle up if you need to, take a cup of tea if you need to. I have been known to take a hot water bottle outside and take that with me. But I know that for my mind to function when everything's chaotic and everything's just like blah, and I don't know where to start, and I can't look at my emails and I can't look at my to-do list and my phone's ringing, just get a hot water bottle or a coat and sit outside, even if it's freezing. Well, only if it's freezing, otherwise you wouldn't have a hot water bottle. But just sit outside and just listen to the world. Just get out of your head, just focus on your breathing, and even just set a timer on your phone for 30 seconds. If you cannot give yourself 30 seconds to do that, something isn't going right, okay? You have to be able to give yourself that gift of 30 seconds. And whenever I have done this, I've always come back feeling better. Just 30 seconds to sit outside, listen to the birds, listen to your breathing, be in the fresh air, feel the feelings, feel cold, feel the sun on you, feel the wind on you, feel the rain on your face, whatever. Just get outside, and it just grounds you, and it just takes your mind out of itself just for 1 second. So I'd highly recommend just getting outside and just breathing in that natural space to center yourself and quieten your thoughts. So that's tip number 3. Tip number 4. So tip number 4 is kind of similar to number 2 in that you can create a spiritual space really, really quickly. And what I do for this is I pick what I call is an angel card. I don't even know what the actual name is, but I call them angel cards. So these are things that have like an inspirational quote on them, and my favorite pack has got actual ascended masters on them, and I love just taking 1 minute at the beginning of the day to just shuffle through the pack of cards and pick a card. In fact, let me get them. Here we go. So this is the pack that I use by Doreen Virtue, and these are beautiful. They have such amazing, lovely images on them. You can see that they just have like all the amazing superstar people on there. Superstar people. Like Jesus. I love Jesus. Archangel Michael. All these fantastic people. So these are Ascended Masters, and they have things written on them like freedom and listen and all these kind of things. So you can just take 30 seconds to shuffle through the pack of cards and pick one. And then if you have time within this book, it explains what the card means in a bit more detail, and you know what that card is sending you. And I always just like to sit, to hold the pack and just take a breath and just kind of say, you know, for me personally, I like to connect with Jesus, and I like to connect with God, and I like to say, you know, please send me a message. How can I be of service today? What can help me today? And then I shuffle the cards and I just randomly pick one. This is a great one. Flow of prosperity, Lakshmi. So again, that just sets me up for the day. It helps me to just look for those signals and those signs, and I just know that I'm connected to something bigger than me, greater than me, and that always really helps me. So that is tip number 4. Okay, so tip number 5. So my tip number 5 is quite a difficult one to explain, but my tip number 5 for coping when things are a bit chaotic is just stepping out of it and just stepping out of that moment and just recognizing that it is not you. You are not the stressful situation. You are not the to-do list. You are not your thoughts about that stressful situation. It just is. And I'll do a whole separate video on this, but just try to remember that it isn't that important. And I know that sounds dismissive, and I know that is easier said than done, and I know that on some days I just don't feel like thinking of it that way, but when I can, I just try to remember in my mind that this will pass, this isn't forever, and if I give it the space that it needs, it will almost always work itself out. So just trying to step back from the stressful situation, step back from the problem, because we have a very nice habit of thinking that we are the only thing in the world that knows what's going on and that we are in control. We are not in control. We have no fucking idea what we're doing most of the time. So just to step back and remember that you are being looked after, you are being protected, you are not the be all and end all in this situation. There are far greater powers looking out for you, looking after you, and supporting you in this situation that you could never even imagine. We've got this amazing force of being which is beyond all of us, whether you believe in God or something else. I call it God. For me, that's what God is. It's that higher knowledge, that higher power that has got a greater plan, far greater than we can see. And almost always when we're in these kind of stressful, chaotic headspaces, we're just zooming in, we're zooming way too far into the problem, and we need to just zoom out a bit, step back from it, and realize that there's a higher plan going on here. And if we can just be part of that higher plan, recognize that we're not in control of the situation, we might have an idea of where we want the situation to go, and work may be required, but fear never is. So that is my tip number 5. Step back, let go. Okay, so there were my 5 super quick tips on how to get out of your crazy headspace when things are a bit chaotic and a bit stressful. Let me know what you think. Any questions, comments, pop them below. Let me know if you'd like me to expand on anything, and I will make sure I write down the links to the I Believe God Wants You to Know, and also the Ascended Mastercards and things like that. And as always, thank you for watching.